Okay, is it working this time? Jeez. Man, the things you gotta go through just to do a show. But such is life, I suppose. Let me check for myself. Um, there we go. I can hear myself there. Isn't that sweet? Good Lord. Yeah, that's right. Hit the like button. Jeez. All right. We'll get through this somehow. Oh, oh, geez. Uh, what was I wanted to do here? Oh, yeah, this. Um, that, oh, God, that really, whatever. You heard it all before. Um, why does it work? Um, you know, and then doesn't? I don't know. But it's the way it is. I'm not turning the camera on. That's just going to cause more trouble. Just trying to get through this as much as possible. Looks like that stupid that. See, that's another thing. Of the advantages of EV Mux is their banner for the PayPal and the super tip address is really thin and nice. This one just takes up. Of course, super tip is in the chat, so there's that. But yeah, we're gonna have to take that out of there. So, anywho, here's an interesting little tidbit, which stood to reason, and I figured was true all along. Anyway, but nevertheless, so James Gunn rebooted DC with cheaper talent. Scoop confirmed. So once again, here we are at Cosmic Book News, who's been, telling this tale for quite a while. Well, ever since the whole thing DCU got announced and all that sort of stuff, and Henry Cavill was out and everybody was upset, and all, myself included. But more than likely, the big reason is the cost of the talent. And I may not like that aspect, but I certainly respect it, given the position Warner Brothers was and is in. So, nothing is, and if people were mad at James Gunn and stuff, this is the position he was hired for. He didn't set up the circumstances. And there's quite a few villains who screwed a lot of people over in the past, but it's in the past. So a recent report has revealed the salaries the leading actors have been paid for in James Gunn's Superman movie, which confirms what I, meaning Matt McGloin, first told you 2 years ago. Via News, it's revealed that David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan were only paid $750,000 each, despite Cornsweet being the lead, and that Nicholas Hoult was paid $2 million to play the villain, Lex Luthor. The reason Hoult was paid that much is likely because he has movie experience, whereas Cornsweet and Brosnahan are known for their television roles. Obviously, that also means the other actors in the movie were paid less. Grace Randolph's industry insider describes the pay as embarrassing. Zazzy's always looking to save a buck. Well, you kind of need to when he inherited a destroyed company. You understand? He's trying to polish this thing up for a sell. This is a company that's been sold twice. And just recently, they split it into two entities. That's the situation they're in. So, otherwise, yeah, I think they would have gone ahead with Henry Cavill Superman. But they couldn't pay him. So, reported salaries, here we go. The $750 and the $2 million for Nicholas. And of course, yes, he had, and that's part of the deal. I know the contracts and whatnot that goes on in that town. And he'd been involved in quite a few films. The X-Men, most notably, playing the younger version of Beast, and all of that. So that ups his pay scale. Whereas these two are largely unknowns, you know, even though Nicholas Holt's not a big star. Of course, one can argue, and I tend to agree with, the era of stars is pretty much over, you know. But nevertheless, experience and whatnot. And what's the demand for him? If it was a little bit more, and he says, well, if you're not paying me what I am up for, then I'll go where I am paid that, you know, that kind of thing. So all three are in line for box office bonuses if the film performs. So there you go. So meanwhile, smaller budget, smaller break-even number. That's right. When you don't burn a lot of money, even if the film doesn't do all that great, you can still make money off of it. So worth a mention is that when Gunn responded to claims his Superman movie has a budget of $363 million, he basically laughed that off and said he wished he had that budget. It's been reported the budget is $225 million. Variety also recently came out and said Warner Brothers only spent $100 million on the marketing. So, all right, $325 million overall. So we can also add that Gunn's decision to put himself at the forefront of the marketing campaign likely contributed to saving money. That's right. All those clips of Gunn talking about it and everything, that's mostly for free, you know? Yeah, that's a cheap way of doing it. Of course, it got a bit annoying, and hey, how come we aren't seeing more? What about the stars and stuff? So probably they would have to up the pay to have Corn Sweat doing a lot of different, you know, I don't know about, you know, interviews on shows or whatnot, but promos and stuff. So, yeah, we can't squeeze that money out. So the Wall Street Journal also recently reported Warner Brothers will be happy if the Superman box office finishes in the 500 millions, which would be the break-even number of around 560 million. So, so he's quoting Matt McGloin, his tweets, saying, "I told everyone this 2 years." Yes, that's right. And of course, here's the image of some of the original footage shot during The Flash, where they gave a tease for Ben Affleck's Batman movie that was supposed to follow it. And they scrapped all that to change the move. So there were 3 different agendas for the Flash movie. Well, 3 by the time it got underway. The first one was to turn the DCEU into the DC She-U, where Supergirl would be introduced, and then followed by Batgirl, and they would replace Superman and Batman, with Michael Keaton hanging around as the elder Batman, being a mentor to Batgirl. Well, all that got, you know, broomed away. And then they said, let's just bring back Affleck and Cavill. And don't know if they shot Cavill's scene, but he was supposed to appear with Sasha Calle at the end with the Flash at the courthouse and all that. And then he gets a message. Batman is lost in the multiverse, and oh no, what does this mean, and that sort of thing. And then they were going to go into the Ben Affleck movie. Well, and then Affleck filmed scenes for Aquaman, which originally was shot with Michael Keaton. So you see, they kept scrapping it. By the end, when DCU and Zaslav says, cut all that crap out, we're not paying these people, we don't have the money, recast the whole damn thing and just dump these leftover movies, and let's just try to get through this. Which dumping the movies and then announcing ahead of time they don't matter anymore as far as an overall brand did a lot of damage to them. Probably should have played coy for a while. It still would be deceptive. but nevertheless, we'll never know. So anyway, so then they ended up with just slap together the Flash, take all that out, and then the only real influence from James Gunn was, hey, I know, get George Clooney in there. That'll be funny. And that was their, ending scene. So, But it was all about money. You know, you couldn't afford this. And with so many bombs, they just weren't going to take another chance on it. And quite frankly, probably didn't have the money to spare. So here he goes. He goes back into what McClellan was told at Comic-Con. He says insiders told him 2 years ago that Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav made the decision to cancel the DCEU. I was told that Zaslav demanded that Gunn reboot DC with cheaper talent. Also, recall I told you Henry Cavill wanted a lot of money to return as Superman. And get this, per Variety, Dwayne Johnson was reportedly paid a massive $22.5 million to play Black Adam, 30 times more than Cornsweat's pay. So you see the problem. Yeah, I mean, that movie needed to just blow everything out to justify that. And to make matters worse, it was denied the Chinese market. So, but even if it had it, I don't know. It would have done a lot better. And actually, for the money it made compared to the other DC failures, the only thing that topped it was the Aquaman sequel. So, yeah, but not enough. Not enough to justify that and all that sort of thing. So, hey, what about Jason Momoa returning as Lolo? As Lobo. He says he means he took a pay cut. Well, probably he's not being paid all that much to do a glorified cameo in the Supergirl movie, which is where he'll make his first appearance as Lobo. But provided everything goes well, then there's a shot for him to get his Lobo movie. So that's in the future. But this thing's got to perform and do well. And so then, we'll talk again about your pay as the star of a Lobo film. So as of now, what he was paid, he wasn't paid $22 million to do Supergirl, you know. So anyway, following Aquaman, every DCEU movie bombed. Black Adam also bombed, and Zaslav made the decision to go with Gunn and Peter Safran in a rebooted DCU. He did it before those movies came. Well, I guess Black Adam had already come out, but the rest of them hadn't. Anyway, starring the actors that were a lot cheaper than Cavill, Ben Affleck, Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot, and Momoa. But Momoa's still around. Now, Gunn said he offered roles. You know, he offered Affleck directing gigs, but Affleck passed on it. He offered a role to Henry Cavill, and he said, no, thank you. And that was that. One wonders, was he offered the role of the clone? You know, spoilers. I don't know, but whatever. He said no, thank you, and went on his way. So, Wall Street Journal also recently confirmed that Gunn and Safran, canceled plans for Wonder Woman 3. Yeah, it's over. You can read more on everything here. Yeah, about the reliving all that. Regarding Zack Snyder, I've always been told Zack can come back anytime he wants to direct films for Warner Brothers. Sure. And I'm sure this little thing was discussed because he's talked about Dark Knight Returns, and that might be a film he'd like to do. No doubt he would. He borrowed heavily from it for Batman versus Superman. But that would be a totally isolated thing, and it would be recast and all that. I imagine. I mean, maybe he could talk Cavill to come back and be Superman. I don't know about Affleck. But anyway, you do all that, and then that would be a part of their Elseworlds line that they say they're going to allow, which they just did by happenstance because of the Batman film and Joker. And that's over. Well, Batman isn't, but Joker is. But when DCU if it becomes a thing and it's, profitable and making money, then they'll have room for stuff like that. So maybe any of these other projects, I don't know. Maybe he'd be interested, but we don't know. It's also not Andy Muschietti's fault that The Flash turned out as bad as it did. They wouldn't even let the VFX shots be finished, and of course had to change things not to continue the DCEU. Plus, there were a lot of other problems, but that's true. It's just the movie never had a shot with so many things slamming it. It's too bad. Michael Keaton was actually pretty good at it, you know. And I didn't really even despise Ezra Miller in the movie. He's a messed up guy, no doubt about that, and really disturbing. But I don't know, and it was kind of funny how the two different versions of him, and he became increasingly irritated with himself. Now you know how the rest of us feel. But anyway, yeah, bad movie. So also chatted with my insiders. They got to see Superman in a theater where no one else was in attendance. No idea how that happened. They didn't like it at all. Oh boy. Well, that's just too bad. But you know, I'm just sort of in the middle on the movie. It was all right. You know, and there's quite a few things I have pretty serious problems with, but for the most part, I don't know. And if $500 500 million, what was it? 500 million, 60. If that's what they're shooting for, then I suppose they have a stable ground in the hopes that they can build things more going forward. But they got lessons to learn from this, because I think quite a few mistakes were made here. Corn Sweat makes a good Superman. Rachel's a great Lois Lane, and I have no real problem with the cast. Some of the choices on the personalities I thought were a little off, especially the Metamorpho character. But other than that, well, best of luck to them, and we'll see how that turns out. But more times than not, especially these days, time's not on everyone's side, and a lot of the things just, I don't know. Would like to see a successful, DC movie franchise. Oh yeah, I forgot to put my little Superman there. See, little Superman, here he is. Anyway, best of luck to it. But I believe number wise, even now, as bad as people have said the Jurassic Park movie is currently, it did better than this so far. So I would have thought the opposite would have happened to some degree, but I guess I was wrong. But we'll see. Hopefully works out, because again, I'd like to see a fully realized cinematic DC universe. Why can't I have that? Why? All right, now I'll take a look at the chat. Audio good, video check, yeah. Hey, Thompson, Doug, are you going to see the movie Weapons? Probably not. It's not really piquing my interest. Oh, wait a minute. Let me there. Hey, Thompson, for the first time in my life, I will complain about the casting in Superman. The parents, the Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Supergirl. Not good casting. Well, Supergirl's very briefly in it, and I know what they're doing there, because that does tie into her movie, which is based on that Tom King comic. As much as I can't stand Tom King, that's one of his least offensive comics, even though it's just a ripoff of True Grit. But her being drunk is really only at the beginning, and it's only because she's dealing with the loss of her society that she had to watch fall apart and die and everything. Unlike Superman, who was an infant when he arrived. So there's some elements, and there's been different versions of that. When they did the New 52, they did a lot more of that, of how different Supergirl would be as opposed to Superman, and so on and so forth. So it's an understandable take on the character, but they just did it for laughs here, where she's all bitchy and drunk and stuff and stumbling around. And yeah, and we'll see. I like the actress. I liked her in House of Dragon. Hopefully, but I mean, it's the material they get, Now, Green Lantern, can't stand the haircut, but it is for a time was comic accurate. But I disagree. His performance is spot on. That is the character. He's an asshole. That's Guy Gardner, a complete asshole. And that's always been the deal. Now, the parents, I'm assuming do you mean Pa and Ma Kent? People didn't like it that they were overly done. Again, everything is done on the silly metric, even though, he has an emotional scene with his dad and all that. Still, they were played up to be goofy. And after surviving Thor, Love and Thunder, you really got to go quite a bit far to really get to the point where the jokes and goofiness chokes all the oxygen out of the room, which that's exactly what happened to Love and Thunder. And Love and Thunder, in a lot of ways, had a better plot than what Superman has here. But the idiot goofiness killed it, just absolutely slaughtered that movie. And too bad. Here, well, it was a bit reined in. I don't think it was full on Guardians level. But at times, yeah, it did get in the way. At times when both sets of parents, I didn't like them. It didn't feel right. Well, yeah, I can see your point there. I take it for the goofiness on the Kents. As for Jor-El and Lara, yeah, that's a big problem. That's a mistake, especially when they could have easily corrected it. But to say, hey, they'll fix it later. No. You deal with that within the movie. This movie, for all its universe building and all that stuff, it needs to be on its own. And something like that, it was a mistake. Nodak, I was browsing one of the streaming services and noticed a Supergirl movie made in the 80s or possibly early 90s. There was one in the 80s. I've never heard of anyone even talk about it. I'm guessing it's not good. It really wasn't. I don't think it's the fault of the actress. I thought she did okay, and she plays this innocent, especially since she doesn't know anything about Earth and all that. But it was just trying to ride on the cape tails of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, which it's loosely connected to. Well, not loosely. I mean, the actor who played Jimmy Olsen shows up in it. But it's not that great. That's too bad, but, really, Supergirl is, she's a derivative character of Superman. If you're going to do Supergirl, you need some connection between the two. And I would have preferred they had a bit more, at least somewhat lengthy, instead of just a cameo at the end for Supergirl in this one, that she could have had something of a role, a little bit more there, and not just tossed for a little chuckle and that's it. But at least they did that. They were in the same room together, probably not shooting wise, but nevertheless, for the purposes of the story and all that sort of thing. And then suddenly she's in her own movie. Maybe Corn Sweat likewise would make a cameo in that one too, but yeah. But anyway, not that the plot and everything would have been helped had Superman made an appearance in the original Supergirl movie. But yeah, I mean, just for shizniz and giggles, you can check it out. But yeah, it wasn't that great. So anyway, let me say goodbye to Super. Well, wait, maybe not. Maybe I can use it for the next one. But oh yeah, all right, and we'll keep him there. So stop sharing that, bloop, and we'll go to the next one. Oh yes. Wait a minute. Get back on there, stupid. I'm going to need you for later. Yeah, so speaking of Jor-El and all that stuff, make sure everything's lined up. Yeah. James Gunn explains Bradley Cooper's Superman Jor-El cameo. Well, he's playing Jor-El. That explains the cameo. But explains how he landed Bradley Cooper. Well, they're friends. He did the voice of Rocket for Guardians, blah, 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 blah. So now the controversy. So if this is spoiling anything, well, then maybe you shouldn't if you haven't seen the film yet. But this is one of the big problems I have with the Superman movie. So he says yet to comment on the big change to Jor-El in the movie, which has lit a fire online among fans. Yeah, and it bothered me. So then he got an update. So Gunn says, I'm a huge Superman fan. First of all, I had to trust myself that I was going to honor the pieces of Superman that we needed to keep the same, and also allow myself to make changes where changes might work and wouldn't go against the integrity of who the character is. And so I think that was simply dealing with some of those things, was simply dealing with allowing ourselves to change part of the story in a way that was interesting for the DCU. But that wasn't something that went against who Superman was. And it has been something that's been played with in the comics before. Not to that degree, and there were Elseworlds stories that, yes, there was a darker take on Jor-El and Krypton overall, and that sort of thing. But when you're talking about maintaining the integrity, well, it just means Superman's always going to be the good guy, and that's good enough, huh? Yeah, this is a BS answer. I needed to allow myself room to do changes and all that. And ultimately, these would be minor things like your choice of the suit, which I also don't like. But nevertheless, whatever. The era it's put in, stuff like that. But those are rather inconsequential overall. This is pretty major that you do something like that. And just because the characters are long dead, or are they? And you can move on from something like that, and then you saddle the Superman character with that knowledge, even though the movie resolves it well, hey, you're on Earth now, and all that. So, well, here's the spoiler. So, you might not want to look at this. Oh, okay. In Gunn's version, Jor-El basically sends Superman to Earth to take over and continue the Kryptonian bloodline. It's similar to Omni-Man in Invincible, yeah, pretty much. With fans joking online that Jor-El is now a Viltrumite, which is the alien race that Omni-Man, if you haven't seen the Invincible cartoon, that's what it's referring to, where basically Omni-Man's an evil Superman and has a son on the world. But anyway, yeah, that's what he sent him to do. Just him. And said you need to spread your seed on the earth and everything. It's a bit ridiculous. Would you consider the physiology of it all? I mean, how's he? Yeah, well, anyway, that's another thing. Anyway, so Nerdrotic even goes so far as to say the change is worse than what Zack Snyder did with Pa Kent in The Man. Yeah, it is. I mean, the Pa Kent scene is just stupid. This one is really damning to Superman's father. Now, McCloy says, I disagree, at least for now, as it seems to be seen if the change in the message sticks. While they said in the movie the message is indeed legit, fans online are hoping it still got changed. Yeah, I suppose they could, but again, it's within, and it's a big part of the plot, too, of Lex Luthor. There was your out right there. Yeah, they could come in later, and that this becomes a gnawing thing for Superman, and then only to find out that, Brainiac was behind it or something. And that's just admitting they were wrong in the first place and got to fix this. Also worth a mention, if Jor-El is evil, what does that mean for Supergirl? Yeah, that's an interesting question too. I mean, she comes from this evil world, and she's more knowledgeable of it. You know, she's a teenager on Krypton, whereas Superman was just an infant. So, So what did you make of Jor-El's message? I didn't like it. Did it take you out of the movie completely? Well, not completely. And yeah, they'll probably almost not have to fix it. But I mean, you had Supergirl there, and then there's a conversation he could have with her about his father and everything. And she's like, what? That's bullshit, you know? And then there you go. Supergirl saves the day. You know? No, I didn't do that. Plus, then it comes to, hey, they're only cousins, so no. So, yeah, a bad choice on Gunn's part here. And don't worry, the other movie will fix it. This isn't television. These are movies. So, but anyway, yeah, I suppose it's like, well, Superman, the main point of the movie was for Superman to beat Lex Luthor, which he did. You know, other aspects of it he'll deal with later. And so he'll be hating Daddy going forward until he finds out, well, he wasn't bad after all. Something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of that. Just not really. Well, as for everybody else, good news. They might be getting spinoffs. Well, there's no surprise there, you know, because that's the point, you know. Superman spinoffs already talked about. Mr. Terrific, Jimmy Olsen, more Nathan Fillion. Well, we know Nathan Fillion's going to be doing Guy Gardner in the Lanterns series, so that's already a deal. Perhaps Mr. Terrific will get his own series as well. And apparently, well, we'll get into it with Superman now officially out in theaters. It's learned that spinoffs are already being discussed, which includes Mr. Terrific and Jimmy Olsen, and more from, you know, Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern Guy Gardner. In the Wall Street Journal's report on the Superman budget and box office goals, it's mentioned the film gives a taste of Gunn's vision for the broader DC universe, with roles for minor superheroes like Hawkgirl and Mr. Terrific. By the way, is Hawkgirl going to get charged? You know, if you saw the movie, you know. Wall Street Journal adds, Gunn is considering TV spinoffs for characters like Mr. Terrific and Cub reporter Jimmy Olsen. A knowledgeable person said, no spoilers, but Itty Kathigi's Mr. Terrific is one of the best characters in Superman. Likewise, in my review, I said Skylar Gazondo, that's his name, Gazondo's Jimmy Olsen is probably the best Jimmy we've ever seen. Let me think about that. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Potential spinoffs indicate that Gunn will continue to expand the DCU, which also includes Supergirl, Clayface, Peacemaker, Lanterns, and Batman. Look out, here she comes. Regarding Nathan Fillion, he's my favorite of the flick. While his haircut is indeed goofy AF, Fillion plays the role perfectly. If you're familiar with Gunn's work or are a fan, no explanation is needed. Those type of characters are Gunn's specialty. Well, it'd be fine if he was in a Guy Gardner Green Lantern show or movie, you know. But anyway, well, it is already known that Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner will return in the Lantern series. Fillion confirms that his character shares scenes with Aaron Pierre's Jon Stewart, and that Guy drops a lot of F-bombs, potentially meaning Lanterns will be rated R. Aaron, he's got a voice like butter, and he's statuesque, and he's carved out of marble. Well, he's really impressed with Aaron here. Yeah. Anyway, he says Guy comes across quite smug in his first scene with Pierre's John. But by the end of it, you can tell there is a shift. Guy Gardner is no longer comfortable. He's no longer feeling smug. Then you can see where John's strength really lies. That is a strong individual. I don't really have any scenes directly with Hal Jordan, but meeting Kyle, he's everything you'd hope he would be. Very fun, very nice man, very lighthearted. Fun to be around. Well, that's nice. But anyway, I guess he's a bit of an asshole, and then Jon Stewart's got to put him in his place. And so there you go. No real surprise here. But again, Superman has to fly high to justify the expenditures on going forward with these characters. Even on streaming, which again doesn't really deliver as it's supposed to or as I had hoped, you know. So anyway, good luck with that. But maybe Mr. Terrific will get a Terrifics series. But they really got to fix that Metamorpho guy. He can't just be his personality. He's supposed to be like a Ben Grimm type character, you know. Yeah, they got to work on that. I guess they could just chalk it up to that. He was really depressed considering his situation, you know, and then comes into his own and joins Mr. Terrific's team. So, well, we'll see how that goes, you know. All right, that's it for you, Superman. And now, Clayface. Yeah. So now we're at comic book movie, you know. Will the DCU's Batman debut in Clayface? Well, comicbookmovie.com has the details on that movie's leading supporting cast. So anyway, last month they learned that Welsh actor Tom Rice Harries will play the lead character in DC Studios' Clayface. The movie is based on a story by the Fall of the House of Ushers, which was not too bad of a series. Mike Flanagan, Drive writer Hossein Amini, penned the latest draft. So a collaboration. Oh, that's right. He was hired later to come kind of touch it up a bit. Anyway, with Speak No Evil director James Watkins at the helm, Clayface was not among the projects announced by DC Studios at the start of 2023, making it a surprise addition to the Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters slate. Well, I think some of this they're making up as they go along, and probably some stuff got canceled because, you know, too much money and all that. But Gods and Monsters, well, he kind of fits the monsters part, you know. However, for James Gunn, it's all about story when it comes to which DCU projects receive the green light. And this one fit the bill in the filmmaker and studio executive's eyes. Nexus Point News has shared some additional details today, confirming that Clayface will revolve around Matt Hagen with an amalgamation of his and Basil Carlo's comic book backstory. So, similar to the cartoon, I guess. Anyway, Hagen is a handsome up-and-coming actor who's attacked and disfigured. Originally from Gotham, he moves to Hollywood to escape his troubled past and begin a career as an actor. With his disfigurement, his career and outlet as an actor is ruined and is eventually transformed into a shape-shifting monster. Well, what luck. In Clayface, Hagen's love interest will be Dr. Caitlin Bates, an original character created for the DCU. She's the CEO of a biotech startup seeking to create cutting-edge medicine and medical technology. Bates sees Hagen as a way to grow her company and cure his condition. Throughout the process, she falls in love with him, while her fiancé, John, grows suspicious of their relationship. Well, I guess so. As for John, well, guess what? He's a detective and committed to Caitlin and his job. Clayface's main antagonist will be an unnamed crime boss who, like Caitlin and John, will be a character created specifically for them. Well, then you're just taking Clayface completely out of Batman and making up this whole other world. If you're going to have a crime boss involved, you could have stuck to the original story. Now, granted, they did it the best in the animated series. So it's kind of like, well, it's been done. So, but then this could be your live action version, you know? But the scientist, and then it all goes wrong. My guess is Caitlin won't survive, and then Clayface will become a monstrous man out of grief and go on to be a criminal. Anyway, unfortunately, it sounds like Clayface will be lacking connections to the wider DCU. Yeah, it does, as the site has learned that it will not feature any recognizable DC characters and will primarily consist of original characters. That means no Batman. So there goes the answer to the clickbaity thing. Yeah. And likely no surprise appearances from the Dark Knight's Rogues Gallery. Yeah, that's going to disappoint many fans, but the movie takes place primarily in Hollywood. Then there won't be much of an opportunity for us to encounter the likes of the Joker, Killer Croc, and Scarecrow. It's currently unclear how Clayface will explain the villain's presence in Creature Commandos. The standalone nature of the project may also be down to the fact that the movie was, according to the site, originally set in the same world as the Batman. Okay. During a recent interview, Gunn was asked why Clayface was brought into the DCU rather than being an Elseworlds title. Well, I think it was just we needed DCU content. Mike Flanagan is somebody who I've been friendly with for a long time, and he wrote me about Clayface. He texted me about it really early on in my DC journey. Just being honest, I did not think that was something that was going to happen. But he came in and he pitched the idea, and I was like, oh shit, that's cool. It's a body horror movie. Yeah, check out Substance. That's what that is. It probably does it a lot better. It's a horror movie that, like any cool body horror movie, just happens to be in the DCU. And then he wrote the script, and the script was fantastic. But then I had to get another writer come in and fix it. We did not plan to do Clayface. Boy, that's So it's probably got nothing to do with DCU. It sounds like it's probably for the best. This is probably something they thought, hey, we'll get this going and this will be similar to the Joker movie, right? Well, you saw how that turned out in Joker number 2. So, well, whatever. It opens September 11th, 2026. Well, good luck, Clayface. You'll probably need it. Superman, both sets of parents. Captain Infinity, Time Travel Police, shares a drink. A. Thompson says, I went to the IMAX Superman on a Saturday afternoon at an extremely popular place. There was only about 25 people in the theater with me. Movies are empty right now. Well, that's pretty sad. Nodak says, sounds like DC poo. It might just be. I mean, just look at Clayface. You know? Just come on, get in there, stupid. Why is it? I'm trying. Look at him. More like poo face. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Probably not go to the movie. Yeah. Probably not. That's too bad. See, they could have made Clayface story a horror story and still set it in Gotham. That's fine. I suppose they could put in a scene at the end where he's leaving Hollywood after everything that goes wrong. And he's like hitching a ride or whatever. Where are you headed? Gotham. And then there you go, dude. oh my God, he's going to Gotham City, and all that. But yeah, a Batman movie with no Batman. Well, I wonder how that'll work. Oh, well, that's too bad. That's too bad. I forgot. I gotta do the. First look at Millie Alcock as Supergirl. Well, if you saw the movie, you've already seen it. So, yeah. Well, here she is reading the story that her script's based on. Yeah. So James Gunn's Superman features the first appearance of the DCU's Supergirl, played by Ali Alcock, who will go on to star in her own movie, which gets released June 26, 2026. The hairstylist who put together Supergirl's look in Superman revealed behind-the-scenes images. Challenge to color correct Millie's hair in one day. Okay, all right, that's nice. She tells you how to make blonde hair and stuff. So if you're ever wanting to learn about hair dye and stuff, well, this is all for you, but I don't anticipate having that problem. So, it looks like they're doing her lips there. But anyway, you see the suit. And she's wearing this coat. That was in the movie too. I'm not sure why. And if they're going to say this takes place after her adventure, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense either. That she's still drunk coming back. Her suit's all filthy. Like maybe she threw up or something. Don't know if the coat is from one of those planets. You don't see her cape. Well, whatever. It's not like, she had to have the coat on, because she wanted to keep warm. She's Supergirl. She doesn't need it. Anyway, there you go. That's kind of the skirt and the belt. And there's, I don't know, some kind of thing there that the belt goes through. And some lady doing her lipstick. So yeah, she shows up as Clark's getting his, sun bath. And Supergirl is all drunk. And where's my dog? And all that sort of stuff. So still doing her lips is another shot. Okay. And her hair, which I don't know. It's kind of the same, isn't it? I mean, I guess they straightened it a bit, but I don't know. This is the same colored hair. I don't know if they did all that much. Maybe the roots. I don't know. Well, whatever. Matt McGloin says, I'll say the reaction from fans hasn't been too favorable. I've already said it twice, and Supergirl drew mixed reactions from the live audience. Also, the general sentiment to have the movie end on a note where Supergirl tells Superman he's a bitch seems to be on the negative side. Well, she's drunk, you understand? Superman gets his ass kicked the entire movie, and it ends like that. A lot of fans aren't happy. Well, all right. Well, we can also assume from her cameo that the tone of the Supergirl movie will be similar. Yeah. And there's some silliness in the story, but for the most part, it's a very serious, sad story. Again, True Grit. So I don't, and she's not drunk through the whole thing. She's drunk at the beginning, but I guess they're going to have her be a drunk through the whole movie and think that's clever. I don't know. Gunn's already said Supergirl's a lot different than Superman. Also, what about Jor-El's message? How will it affect Supergirl who was raised Kryptonian? Well, yeah, you're going to have to deal with that. You've done set it in stone now. What does he say? We see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, who was raised on a rock, a chip off of Krypton, and watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then came to Earth when she was a young girl, said Gunn at the press event from January 2023. She's much more hardcore. She's not exactly the Supergirl we're used to seeing. Well, I've seen this Supergirl a couple of times already, so it's no big shock to me. But I guess here's possibly how they'll deal with the whole Krypton thing. She didn't know in a lot of the versions she was on Krypton. So I'm already not liking this too much, but that she was raised on the chunk, you know. So they're too busy surviving on their little rock, what's left of Krypton, and eventually it falls apart and doesn't work. And then her parent sends her, hey, you know, my brother had an idea. Let me see if I can do it. And then puts her in a rocket and sends her off to Earth. And okay, fine. So that'll be the explanation. She's like, I had no idea our society was like that. See? So they can keep going with it, which would be awful, really. Yeah. Anyway, Supergirl gets released on June 26, 2026, directed by Craig Gillespie, with the script by Anna Nogueira. So anyway, there you go. There's Supergirl in her super suit. Isn't that nice? Well, best of luck. It's too bad about Krypton and all that, but, you know. Well, what are you going to do, I guess? I'll go see how it turns out. I don't know. Anyway, hey, Thompson, I am only seeing the movie a month in theaters now, and it will always be IMAX. Not many titles left. Hey, Thompson, spoiler, it's her dog. Yes. Where's my bit? Yeah, it's her dog, right? Hey, Thompson, another spoiler, she is a drunk. Apparently, yeah. Hey, Thompson, she is female MKE. Oh, my goodness. That's the deal. She streams getting drunk and crying about Krypton. And all the chatters is just like, show us your tits. And that's all she gets. And poor girl, after all she's been through. And that would be a depressing movie, wouldn't it? You know? Oh, well. Well, that's it for Superman and all that stuff. Best of luck to DC and what have you. But there's other movies out there, but I only have time for one to talk about. That would be Bond. James Bond. And, yeah, I was a bit bummed that more than likely they won't cast Henry Cavill as James Bond. But I did get some pretty good news in a rumor. Sydney Sweeney rumored for James Bond as new Bond girl. Yes, she will not be playing Bond. She'll be the Bond girl. Hey, do you think she can fill the role? Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking she probably could. A new report claims Sydney Sweeney is the front runner. Yeah. To become the next Bond girl in Denis Villeneuve's upcoming James Bond movie for Amazon. According to The Sun, Villeneuve is a personal friend of the Euphoria and White Lotus star. Well, and he's keen to cast her as the lead female role. Well, I don't blame him. Sweeney is also said to have the support of Amazon boss Jeff Bezos, whose company now controls the franchise. Well, it's a done deal then, huh? I don't know. What's this going to do? What's this going to do? What are we going to... Well, look at that. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, Villeneuve, Bezos, and Sweeney connection. We've already told us. The report states that Villeneuve and Sweeney have spent time together and that he's impressed by her rising popularity and physical dedication to roles. She recently bulked up to portray boxer Christy Martin in an upcoming biopic which involved intense weight training and kickboxing. Well, let's not get her too bulked up. Just, you want to maintain the goodies. Sweeney was also seen last year at the Toronto Film Festival talking with Villeneuve and No Time to Die Bond girl Ana de Armas. More recently, she attended Bezos' high-profile wedding in Venice. Well, there you go. Sounds like a done deal, huh? So, a source told The Sun that Villeneuve thinks Sweeney has the right mix of youth appeal, athleticism, and traditional Bond girl charm. Oh, yeah. Dennis believes she is hugely talented, as well as having an alluring appeal to younger generations, vital in modernizing the franchise. As for who will play the next James Bond, The Sun notes that Aaron Taylor Johnson and James Norton, are still considered top contenders. Well, I thought they wanted someone in their 20s because Aaron Taylor, he's in his 30s, isn't he? So maybe that was BS. Anyway, Daniel Craig's final appearance was in 2021's No Time to Die. Sounds like he had plenty of time because James Bond died in that movie. And Amazon is looking to reshape the series for a new era. No official casting has been confirmed, and production details for the next Bond movie are still under wraps. Well, it's all secret and stuff because, it's top secret. Stuff like that. Well, let's see. We got to get the full deal of Sydney. How good would that go? Okay, she's looking at herself. Can't blame her. All right, little strange curly cue with her hair there. She plays piano, isn't that? That's yeah. Wow, yeah, and and what are you doing here? Get out of there! Well, all right, well, wait, supposed to? No. There we go. All the best for Sydney Sweeney, and makes sense to me. Boy, I hope they do that remake of Barbarella with her in that. She was supposed to. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, that would be cool too. But a Bond girl, yeah. Hey, do you think they could get her in a cat suit and all that type of stuff? That would be nice. So, maybe there's hope for James Bond yet. You just don't know. And, until you see it. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes well. Captain Infinity Time Travel Police. I saw Warfare. That's pretty good. All right. Hey, Thompson, how did you see Superman? Was it 16:9 or 16:9? I don't know. I didn't have a measuring tape. Hey, Thompson, Doug, will you see The Conjuring? Yeah, I saw all the other ones. They're supposed to do a series based off of it for HBO. But I don't know. I think this kind of ends the whole thing. So I don't know if that means they'll recast the Warrens or just, I don't know. I mean, do other, fictional takes on these supposed haunted stories that supposedly happened in real life, that sort of thing. But that's what they wanted to do. Besides Marvel, it's the only other shared universe franchise that was successful. And, of course, it's a series of horror movies and was on the cheap. So how could it not be? It would have to really be so god awful it lost its money. So, but yeah, I'll see the final one. But it's also something that's really run its course. I mean, it's a lot of repetitive nature to it, which was kind of fresh at the time when it started. a lot of mood and atmospherics and everything. But eventually it's like, well, you know the deal. And so it's probably time to close the door on it. So we'll see how it ends. And as far as the series going forward, I don't know. I'll take a look at it. But for the most part, I think the whole thing's done. So there we go. That concludes this. I don't know if I'll bother editing these all together into separate videos. I was thinking that, but maybe not. But anyway, you're all caught up on your necessary Nailsin Ratings news, aren't you? I think so. A. Thompson says The Conjuring is scary stuff. The Nun was scary as fuck. Yeah. Now, The Nun, that's their most fictionalized one of the franchise. That whole thing, it's not based on anybody in particular. It was odd because I thought there was something to it, like it was based on some lore or whatever. And then they, what's her name? The woman who plays, Elizabeth, or not Elizabeth Warren. Damn it. I'm forgetting her name, but the psychic lady, her younger sister plays the nun in training in the first movie, and then the full-on nun in the second one. And I thought, oh, there's some connection there, or maybe that's like a relative to the character. And got nothing to do with it. And they almost passed on casting her when they said, "Oh, wait, you're Farminga's sister," but they said she did a good read for the role, so they cast her. And A. Thompson, I might see Weapon. Looks good. The kid from Goonies is in it. Well, all right. So there you go. Nailsin Ratings. Yeah. Oh yeah, Josh Brolin. Yeah, he's not a kid anymore. That was a long time ago. Was he the one in 30? He did. He was in what do you call it? 30 Days of Night. It's based on a graphic novel. Wasn't he the one? Anyway, I can't remember. All right. There we go. Have a good rest of your day. That's it for me for now. We'll do it again soon on, something else. Have a good, I was going to say night. It's night for me. For you, it's the morning. Well, depending on where you are. Yeah, that's true. But anyway, have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. And thanks for watching.